So first, a lesson from the pit. When Joseph was in the pit, here's the lesson we can take away from that. Is God's plan for your life will not always be supported by others. For you and I, God's plan for our lives is not always going to be supported by others. His brothers were already jealous of him. And when they heard God's plan for Joseph's life, it only serves to fuel that resentment and fire and anger. They weren't interested in understanding the plan, and they just wrote it off. And this was a scary time for Joseph when he was in the pit. The brothers were not only unsupportive, they were actually actively opposing him. Again, they wanted to kill him. They threw him in the pit. And in the pit, he's thinking, I'm going to die here, and my dreams are going to die with me. Look at Genesis 42:21. This is how we know he was anxious in the pit. It says, speaking among themselves, they said, clearly we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. Joseph's time in the pit was scary. Have you ever had a dream or a calling on your life, and the people around you didn't get it? They weren't supportive of it. We actually experienced that when we first came to Australia 22 years ago. People around us thought we were nuts, and they were right. God had called us, and people tried to dissuade us and say, you shouldn't do that. There's snakes there, and it's crazy, and everybody runs around, riding kangaroos and all that kind of stuff. But it was a calling that God had put on our lives, and we had to follow through with that. So maybe people actively oppose you. Maybe they're not interested in hearing about your dream and plan that God has for your life. Maybe you can relate to where Joseph was. It can be frustrating because you'll be looking at your dream and your plan, and you believe it's from God, and you're saying, hey, I'm following God, and I'm just trying to live it out. People should be on board here. Everybody else should be excited about this ministry that I am called to do. Why won't the pastor let me start that ministry up? Why are people opposing me? Can you relate to any of that? I would suggest to you that when our dreams aren't supported by others and it gets scary for us, that fulfilled dreams lie on the other side of our greatest fears. When we are afraid, the dream being fulfilled is on the other side of that. We got to get through that fear. See, sadly, many times we allow fear to stop us and shut us down. We believe that God has a plan, but when it gets tough, we see obstacles, we want to give up. Psalm chapter 118, verse 6 says, the Lord is on my side, I will not be afraid. What can men do to me? When we're afraid and we're trying to follow God's plan, we need to claim that verse. The Lord is on my side. I'm not going to be afraid because what can people do to me anyway? Steady as she goes in the face of fear. Remember the dreams and the plans God has for you. And if they are from God, let that get you to the other side of fear.